Hi, I'm Jennifer. I'm the curator of the museum, and today we're here with Adin Daigle, who has kindly brought in some, I don't think all,
a good amount
of his local bottle and stoneware collection. I met Adin. He came into the museum one day with a big piece of wood and said he was restoring his house, taken a wall down and found this piece of an old crate behind the wall, and it was from the Hawthorne Woolen Mill. So that was very exciting for me. At the time, we were doing a lot of research on that. So I think that's the day I met you.
Yeah, I think you're
And then ever since then, he's been kind enough to loan us things for displays and gets nice and excited when he finds a treasure. So we brought him in today to tell us about some of the stuff, and how you find it or how you acquire it is equally interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, how do you find your stuff?
For the most part, my stuff comes from antique stores or bottle shows. We like to frequent a lot. We go to a few a year looking for bottles. I also collect Ottawa stuff as well, Ottawa bottles. So I'm always looking for Ottawa stuff or Carleton Place stuff. So you never know what you're gonna stumble upon. But most stuff is purchased. We do a little bit of digging around town when we're allowed to. And
He's got a hat on that'll tell you more about that.
My buddy Ryan Good and I have a little side project that we call the Carleton Place Underground. And from time to time, we're allowed to go into some basements, some of the older buildings in town, and you never know what you're gonna find. So most of these things come from stores, but a few came out of the ground and a few came out of some basements. So it's really fun.
Okay, let's start with stoneware. So these are from the Leslie building, right? George Leslie?
Yeah, so from my experience, most of the crockery that I see from town comes from Leslie's store. There was a few other ones, but they're very, very hard to find. So if you're gonna see crocs from Carleton Place, they're more likely gonna be from Leslie's store.
So George Leslie had a store on Bridge Street. We'll put in a photo so you can see it. I think it was a really successful business.
Well, they sold a lot of china too.
Yeah.
So a lot of the china that your parents have, if you're from town originally, probably came from Leslie's place.
Yeah.
So
would these have been made locally, or would he have ordered them?
These ones for sure were from overseas, and I know some of my other Leslie pieces at home let's say from somewhere overseas. So these ones particularly not. If they were a little bit earlier, they probably would have been, but hard to say. But for the most part, yeah, from overseas.
So he would just say what he wanted stamped in it?
Yeah.
And do they all say the same thing?
Yeah, they all say the same thing, sold by George Leslie, Carleton Place, and yeah.
And what would they have held?
These would have been for any type of liquid, like they would have just sold them as generic jugs, so for the most part, you could use it for whatever you want. Well, we have a couple other pieces. So there was a few ginger beer manufacturers in town that made and sold ginger beer. And these bottles actually would have probably came from, in the States, probably Ogdensburg.
Mm-hmm.
But they're really cool. Stone ginger beers are one of my favorite things to collect, actually. And this one's from Adin Daigle. If you know your history, Adin Daigle, he's everywhere. He's one of the big names. This one's a little bit harder to find. This is from Robert Rain, he also had a china and crockery shop. But I guess he did ginger beer on the side as well. So that one's really cool.
It seems crazy to me that you would buy ginger beer in this massive heavy.
Yeah, stone.
Because you drink it and then what?
Well, I guess you would return them.
Get it filled.
Yeah, get it filled or just return it to whatever.
Or use it for something at home.
Yeah, but they are huge.
Yeah, it just seems funny to me.
Yeah.
And they would have had a cork stopper, all these things.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Alrighty, and then you have some glass Peden bottles.
Yeah, so after kind of late 1800s, early 1900s, everyone started staying away from the stone stuff and started going towards glass. So this would be around 1900s, maybe still a little bit in the 1800s, but darn close to 1900s. And then they would have just had a little rubber underneath this thing, and most of them would have had a little closure like this, so just close. He had a few different bottles, as you can see, so he must have sold a lot of ginger beer throughout his days.
Okay. So you have some milk bottles.
Yeah.
We'll do the beverages first.
Okay.
So Carleton Place had several local dairies.
Yeah.
What have you got here?
We got Carleton Place Dairy, which is a fairly common one from my experience. They pop up a lot. This one's a little bit harder to find. This was Maple Leaf Dairy. George Langtree ran that.
Yeah, just around the corner.
Yeah, just around the corner, exactly. And that one's a little bit harder to find as far as Carleton Place milks go, so that's a good one. This one's actually from Burgess when he had Arkland Dairy on the island there. So this one is actually very hard to find. I was very excited to bring that one home. It's very cool. There's a lot of history between the Burgesses and Carleton Place. And
So I think it's the same Burgess that had the contract to run all the CPR restaurants.
Yeah.
And this is, actually, we just happened to be here. This is the inside of the Carleton Place CPR restaurant.
Cool.
So I don't know if there's any milk bottles. I guess they'd be in the cooler. But yeah, so he ran these establishments. So yeah, milk bottles came in different sizes, and they would have had a little cardboard
Little pull tab on the top.
pull tab. And we do have lots of photos in our collection of the delivery guys, and we have a couple of the hats. So
yeah, that's cool.
we can tell a nice story about milk bottles.
But the favorite piece, and it's broken because it's very, very, very hard to find. This was from one of Carleton Place's first dairy, Nielsen Dairy. And Ryan Good and I, we dug this bottle up here in town in one of the old dumps. And that one is my personal holy grail of milk bottles from Carleton Place. So if I could get that intact, that would be awesome. But if not, whatever, I can live with the shard.
And so Nielsen,
there's a lot of history with
Yeah.
the Nielsen family.
they were actually out more towards Appleton.
Yeah, and we still drink Nielsen milk to this day,
That's right.
which was, we're not 100% sure with the history, but it's either this fellow's cousin or uncle. They're connected
Yeah,
to
they
somewhere
are.
along the line.
Yeah.
So that's very exciting too.
And you won't tell us where you found that?
Secret spot. A secret honey hole, we call it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you know where to dig? Like, what makes you think, oh, this might be a good spot?
If you come across glass shards on the surface, that normally means there's going to be some stuff underneath. But here in Carleton Place, you dig down about 4 inches and you're on bedrock.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So old stuff on the surface, that indicates there was a bit of a dump there.
And I know farmers' fields, where the fences would be,
Yeah.
they'd clear the rocks, but they'd also throw their garbage along.
Yeah, we actually Ryan and I found this bottle along the farmer's field, along the rock pile, fully intact, surprisingly, because he probably just hoofed it in there. And yeah, that was a very exciting find.
So which one's that?
That is from RF Preston.
Okay, so this is a pharmaceutical bottle.
Yeah.
And what did it have in it, does it say?
I wouldn't have said it. He could have used it for everything. For the most times, if they had the embossed on the other side, they would put the label on it to tell what it was.
Okay.
So they would get a whole bunch of embossed bottles, use them for everything, and then label the one side so you knew.
Okay.
And then actually I have another one from him. This is a very hard bottle to find in amber, beautiful color. That one is one of perhaps 3 or 4 identical ones known. And I know a lot of guys in the collecting world of bottles, so I was very, very excited to get that one.
And it's the color that makes it rare?
It's the color that makes it rare. So for the most part, like as you can see from all my med bottles, they're all basically clear.
Yeah.
So that was the go-to. So it would be a special, I don't know what it would be, special occasion just to get a nice fancy one like that.
So Williams Pharmacy is what's now the Good Food Company.
Yeah.
And so if you go in there, you can, once you know, you can tell that it was a drugstore because of the shelving.
All the old shelving still up. So Petra actually let us go into the
I
basement.
know.
We're so thankful. And Ryan and I must have dug through 300 or 400 giant bottles like this to pull out about 5 or 6 ones that had the Williams label on it. So I think we were both black from head to toe at the end of that one.
But from what you showed me, it's just sheer wall-to-wall
Bottles. Yeah.
in the basement.
There's an old cistern down there where they used to store the water, and somebody decided to start lowering bottles in there, and we could barely get in without stepping on bottles. You had to make a little path and get in there. And
So everyone, if you live in an old house, often you have a cistern. And I know the house I grew up in it was full of garbage and then soil.
Yeah.
So if you live in an old house in Carleton Place and you want to know what's down there,
you call these guys.
call these guys.
We'll dig it for you.
Yep. What else have we got here? Let me see. What are these guys? These are more pharmacy?
Those are all William Hughes bottles.
Okay, and can I hold this up?
Yeah.
This is an ad from William Hughes. I don't know what date.
Yeah, I'm not actually quite too sure the date on that.
Anyway, kind of neat. These are really useful for us because it shows us what things are, like odd little medical implements.
Yeah, and just like every little thing that he sold, right?
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
And I know a lot of the drugstores in town also sold animal husbandry things, like for vet, what today a vet would use.
Yeah.
Because I guess farmers kind of did their own,
Yeah, makes sense.
helping their animals. You said this is your holy grail. Is there something else out there that you're still searching for?
There is a soda siphon, so they would pump it full of CO2, and it's a big bottle with a little spout on top.
Yeah.
And it's for mixing seltzers and stuff, which would be in these bottles here. And there's an Adam Peden one that I've been grinding my teeth trying to find. And I know there's a few out there, but I just can't seem to get my hands on.